Hello everyone, welcome to computer skill course. And before start studying the lecture, let me introduce myself. As you probably know, my name is Bawar Abid Abdullah, and I'm in charge of teaching this course this semester. And I hope you all enjoy it. And in this very first lecture, we will be talking about an introduction to the computers. And let's start talking about that. And let's say, what is a computer? We may have all used the computer. And what is a computer? Computer is a machine or is an instrument which is created to perform some tasks or calculations, like for example when you are calculating, when you are writing a report, or creating a presentation, or running any other application. This is being done by the computer, and we all know that the computers are working by executing or performing some tasks which included inside a program. So we may have used programs before, we may have heard the term programs before, and we all know that any program is composed of some instructions. So million of instruction, more than millions of instruction, less than million of instructions. But the clue is that the computers are created in order to execute the instructions inside the program. So in a simple or brief definition, we can say the computers are some electronic instruments that are created to run or execute programs. And the main two things of the computers are the hardware and the software. So the computer works through an interaction of the hardware and the software. That means there must be a hardware and a software of a computer, then you can call it a computer. Then it can perform some functionality or deliver some operations or those kind of things. Let us define the computer hardware. What is the hardware of the computer? Hardware of the computer are those components which are tangible. That means those components of the computer that you can touch. For example, like your mouse, your keyboard, and the screen of your computer, and the microprocessor, and the memories. Those physical parts of the computer that you can see or you can touch. Anything that is electrical or electronic instrument and you can see or you can touch is called a hardware. And the main hardware elements of a computer are input devices, output devices, secondary storage devices, and the internal components. So let's say what some examples, brief small examples of the input devices, like the keyboard, mouse, digital camera, or scanner. Output devices like printer, monitor. Secondary storage, that means you can store or save the data or your information inside them permanently or semi-permanently, like the hard disk or a CD or a DVD or a flash memory. So we've got some different types of the hard disk, like hard disk drive, HDD, and solid state disk, SSD. And we've got the internal components of the computer, which are the main or the most important parts of the computer, and the main parts of the computer, like the central processing unit, like the motherboard, like the RAM. And we can say RAM is a memory and the hard disk is a memory, but the hard disk are secondary storage. It is a permanent storage, while the RAM is a temporary storage. When you turn off your computer, all the data inside the RAM is going to be lost. We will discuss those kind of memories and input output devices in detail later in this lecture. Here are some main hardware parts of the computer. You may have seen a desktop computer which has a case, and inside the case we have, for example, power supply, motherboard, fan or heating sink, or floppy disk, or hard disk drive, and optical drive, like when you insert CD or DVD. And we've got RAM. And floppy disk is not used nowadays. It was used in 90s and those years, but nowadays it's not used. This is what is inside the case. But apart from these hardware elements, we have the other hardware elements, like the mouse, keyboard, and the screen, and printer and scanner, and any other hardware element that you can see or you can touch. They are all called hardware elements of a computer. As we already said, beside the hardware we have software as well, and we said that the computer is composed of two main parts. They are the hardware and the software, and we discussed the main hardware elements of the computer. Let's talk about the software. Software is those programs inside your computer which you can use in your daily life, and those programs are inside your computer which make your computer work. So some of those programs you are using in your daily life or in a daily basis, weekly basis, for your courses, for any specific task or stuff like that. But we have some programs which are used only by the system. For example, if you have the hardware of the computer, you need to install a system software inside it. Then your hardware can perform some functionality, or you can perform some functions inside your computer. So this type of the software which must be installed inside the hardware is called system software, and the main example of that is the operating system, like Windows I am using right now. And in your mobile phone you have, for example, iOS, and in your Galaxy phones you have Android. In your MacBooks you have iOS as well, and Mac OS. So they are nearly the same. So but we mainly talk about the computers. In most of the laptops we are using Windows operating system, but in the MacBooks Mac OS is used. So this type of the softwares which are created in order to make the computer work, or to make the hardware of the computer work, are called the system software. And beside of them we have application software, which is the second type of the software. The application software are those softwares which you are using in your daily life. Like for example, when you are writing a report, you need to use Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is an application software, and you may use spreadsheets of the Microsoft Excel, and you may use some graphics like for example Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and you may use games like PUBG or Slotomania. And for example, communications, when you communicate to another people through your computer, like when you use Messenger, when you send email, those software, for example the internet browser like the Google Chrome, or the database systems in order to manage your data and to calculate something or anything which you can insert into a database. Those type of the softwares which are used in daily life are called application software. But the system software are those softwares which are installed on the hardware in order to make the application software work with the hardware. Without the system software or the operating system, the application software can't do anything. You can't use them. You need to have an operating system installed inside the hardware of your computer. Then the application softwares can deliver some functionality. And to summarize, we can say the system software is an interface between the software and the hardware of the computer. It runs between the hardware and the software of your computer. And some examples of them, as we said before, we've got Microsoft Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and Ubuntu. So many different types of the operating systems. And the application software are those softwares or programs which are created in order to deliver a specific task, or perform on a specific task, or deliver some output of a specific task. Like when you want to search for a data on internet, you need to use a software which is called a web browser, like the Google Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and even the most widely used software is the Microsoft Office softwares or applications like Excel, OneNote, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, Microsoft Access, and so many more. And then let's talk about the main functionalities of the computer. Any computer, or that the computers are called the digital computers because they are working on the digital data, like they are using the binary systems which are zeros and ones. They have 5 main functions. They are taking data as input. Like for example, when you want to calculate 1 plus 2, you need to give the data to the computer. When you want to open a folder on your computer, you need to open that folder by clicking by your mouse or entering by your keyboard. So then this is the first functionality of the computer. The computers have the ability to take data as input or accept data as input, and then the computers have the ability to store data. So those data are going to be stored inside the memory, and you can use them whenever you want to use, or whenever they are required. Then the computers have the ability to process the inputted data or entered data. Like as we said before, when you want to perform 1 plus 2, you need to give the 1 and then the addition sign, and then you need to give the 2. So those 1 and 2 and the addition sign are going to be processed. 1 plus 2 is going to be processed, and then the computer generates the output, which is the fourth functionality of the computer. And then above those 4 steps, four functionalities, we have a control mechanism of the computer. The computer must have the ability to control those things, which is going to be done by the microprocessor. It is the microprocessor that controls all those 4 functionalities. So to summarize, we can say the computer takes data as input, then process the entered data, and then gives output based on the process. And then sometimes the data is going to be stored, and sometimes it is going to be stored permanently, and sometimes temporary, according to the operation that has been given to the computer. And what are the advantages of the computer, or the main use of the computer, or the main reason for us that we are using the computer? We are talking about 7 of them. Computer has more advantage than those 7 points. The computers are very fast when you are working with the computer. For example, when you do some calculation using your brain, you may take, for example, 5 minutes, but the computers can do that within a millisecond, not even a second, a millisecond, which is 1 part of a million part. And then the accuracy, the computers are very accurate. How? Whenever you give a computer a function, or whenever you ask the computer to do something for you, they are doing them accurately. The result of the calculations or anything you want is very accurate. Like for example, when you send the data, when you are Ali and you have 2 friends, for example Bob and Sarah, when you want to send the data to Sarah, the data goes to the Sarah, it doesn't go to the Bob. This is what we mean by the accuracy. When you say 5 multiplied by 10, the result is going to be 50, not 49 or any other number. This is what is called the accuracy. Then storage capability, it can store a huge amount of data at any type. Like for example, you can store image, or you can say video, text, or games, or any other files like your documents, your reports. So it has a large amount or a high capacity of memory, or large amount of places, so you can store anything you want inside your computer. And the lightness means it is free from tiredness. It doesn't get tired, so it doesn't have the lack of concentration. So you can work for example 10 hours, but then you'll feel tiredness, and you'll feel tired, and you lose your concentration. But the computer is free from those kind of things. So this is another advantage of the computers. And versatility means the computers are used for different or variety fields inside the in real life. Like for example, we talked about that so much, and you can say it is used in generating a report. It is used to creating a presentation. It is used to play games. It is used to surfing in internet. And the sixth one is the reliability and automation. That means you can rely on your computer. It doesn't make any mistake. So, and it is automatic. So it does everything automatically. You don't need to do anything. The computers perform everything automatically. And the seventh one is reduction in cost and paperwork. Like for example, you can store millions of reports inside your computer, but you can't place those million of reports if they are written on paper in a building. So for example, if you write those million reports, you may spend, for example, $1,000 or something like that, but you can easily store those kind of reports inside the computer using a $30 memory. Here are the main application of the computer. That means where the computer is applicable, where you can use the computer: in business, in banking, or insurance, or education, marketing, healthcare. In those all systems, the computers are used, and many more, like engineering design, or military, or communication through the internet. So when you use the internet, you are using the computer. And in the government sectors, like most of the government organizations are using the databases in order to manage and store their data. So many more: gaming, entertainment, and you can write down so many other fields which the computer is applicable there. And computer generations, the main generations of computers are, we've got 5 different generations of the computer. In 1946 and 1959, we had the first generation. They invented the computer in 1946. So in those years, the vacuum tube were used. The vacuum tube, it was an electronic device which was very big, and it could hold only small amount of data. But in the second generation, they replaced the vacuum tube with the transistor, which was higher. It was faster than the vacuum tube, and it was smaller, so it was better than the vacuum tube. But yet the second generation were evolved into the third generation. Instead of using only the transistors, they used the ICs, integrated circuits. IC is the abbreviation of the integrated circuit, which some transistors are connected together in order to form an IC. This IC is still used nowadays, for example, in the washing machines and those kind of things, but it can perform only a single task at any given time. It can be used only for a special purpose, like as I said, in the air conditioning system, in the washing machines, in the watch, and those kind of things. So that they try to evolve the computer to the fourth generation, which is microprocessor based, like those computers which we have nowadays. Okay, so our computers nowadays is in fourth generations, while we are in fifth generations as well. But in this generation, instead of using computers only for special tasks, we are using computers as what is called artificial intelligence or machine learning. For example, how to control a robot, how to, for example, if someone loses their hand, how to create a robotic hand for them. This is what is called the fifth generation. Still, the computers are used in this generation, but the operation or the functionalities are much advanced than the fourth generation, which was invented from 1971 to 1980. What are the main types of the computer? For example, we can say the mobile phones nowadays are classified under computers classification. Like why? For example, you can play games on your computer, and you can do them on your mobile phone as well. You can write a report on your computer and even on your mobile phone. But according to their speed and the computing power, the computers are classified into those 4 basic classes, like PC, which is personal computer, the computer I'm using right now, and your computers on your laboratories and at home or wherever. And we've got workstation, and we've got mainframe, and we've got supercomputer. Let's talk about each of them a bit more in detail, and let's see what are the differences between them. So as we said before, the personal computer is a single user computer. That means only a single user can use that computer at any given time, and it is really moderately a powerful computer. Nowadays the personal computers are good whenever it comes to the performance and those kind of things, and they are used for the to run applications like business applications, word processing, database management system, creating presentations, and calculating data, or gaming, or any other applications which can be used on the personal computers. So they are widely used computers. The workstation computer, it is the same as the personal computer, but it has a more powerful microprocessor. And these kind of computers are used in the engineering applications like computer aided diagnosis, computer aided management, and those kind of applications which can't be installed inside the personal computer. So instead of using the personal computer for those kind of the applications, the workstation computers are used. And the most common operating systems which are used inside those types of the computers are Unix, and even the Microsoft Windows is used to run the computer. The third type of the computers are mainframes. The mainframes are very large in size and they are very expensive, but the most advantage of them is that the most important advantage of them is that they can support millions of users simultaneously. For example, they have even a very high capacity of the storage. They can store a large amount of data. For example, the Google uses these types of the computer. Why? Because it has a large amount of data, and maybe millions of computer users are accessing this kind of computers simultaneously. So instead of using the normal computers, those kind of the servers, Google or Facebook or any other servers like them, they must use mainframes because they have high capacity of the storage, and they are very fast in speed, and they can support simultaneous access, which is this kind of advantages is not applicable in the normal sized computers or in the laptop or personal computers. The fourth type of the computers are called supercomputers. These computers are extremely fast. They are very fast. It is used in NASA and those kind of organization. It can execute hundreds of millions of instructions per second, and even more than that amount of instructions per second. So these are the four types of the computer, and each of them has their own advantage and disadvantage. Some of them are very fast and they are very powerful, but they are costly, while some of them are not those powerful, but they are affordable.